Hi, folks. Welcome back to this session. I'm with the lovely Bunny Casamassima. Have I said it right, Bunny?
Yes, perfect.
I was looking at it thinking, oh, I might need to read that one out, but I'm glad I got that right. So I'm really excited to chat to Bunny. I met Bunny a year or two ago. I was actually introduced to her by one of the other lovely speakers, Catherine Wood. Bunny was doing research on HSPs, and both myself and Catherine spoke to her in relation to her research. So I'm super excited to be on today to find out like what she found out and and to dive into the beauty of like intuition. I'd love to say I have her bio off my heart. I don't, folks. So I'm going to glance down so I give her a bit of justice. So Bunny is a researcher, an educator, and a highly sensitive intuitive medium. She is the founder of Intuitive by Nature and is dedicated to nurturing people's joy-driven lives through fostering their intuitive connection. Her support focuses on primary research, one-on-one intuitive readings, and research-rooted speaking engagements. So I just want to say, first of all, welcome, Bunny. I know it's early for you. Thank you so much for coming on today. And I'd love to know, before I dive into your questions, like how did you figure out that you are HSP and how did you kind of get on this path?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, it's so wonderful to be here with you. Thank you so much for inviting me on. And for those that are watching today, it's so wonderful to be here with you. Hope you all are having a wonderful day. To answer your question as like when did I realize that I was a highly sensitive person or HSP, it really was probably in my, well into my career. And I just always assumed that everybody could feel what other people were feeling in the room.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until I was working in the corporate world years ago where I read a book called called Quiet: Introverts in a World That Just Can't Stop Talking. And while that's different than HSP, it really started to create this awareness and terminology of like, oh my goodness, this is why I really love being with people. I lead speaking engagements, etc., but I need a lot of recharge time after that. That led me to diving into HSP and understanding what those terms were. So it's been a little bit of a journey, but quite a life-changing journey to say, wait a second, this can be a superpower, this ability to really tune in and make sure that I'm honoring my needs in the process with it. Yeah.
I love that. And I started similar to you, kind of like falling down the introvert kind of hole, like, oh, I'm an introvert, my energy is different. And then I kind of stumbled into the empath kind of arena and
Mhm.
then HSP. So it's interesting how we're all trying to figure out like why is our energy the way it is. And we eventually get to the HSP path.
Absolutely. I feel like having that terminology and just the research showing, at least 20% of people are classified as HSPs all around the world, right? All genders, all backgrounds, all perspectives. That was really comforting for me.
Yeah.
And especially now leaning into this much more fully, and especially with the intuition work and tuning into that, getting to connect with so many more people that are in that alignment has been very enriching and powerful. So again, really wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah, lovely. And I love what you say about it being comforting as well, about the 20%, because I felt like that. I know I say a lot of people on the summit and a lot of the speakers have all read Elaine Aron's book, and it was like a light bulb for me. But that statistic was like a light bulb. I was like, oh, what do you mean 1 in 5? Because I certainly haven't been hanging around with a lot of them throughout my life, and I was pretty much the only HSP in my family as well. So I got really excited to think, wow, there are lots of people like me out there, and I just need to go out and find them.
Yeah.
And I think once you're connecting to fellow HSPs, it's just, yeah, like you say, it's enriching, and you're on the same kind of wavelength, and it's so nice to be around like fellow like empaths as well.
Absolutely. And I feel the more we allow ourselves to really step into that and identify as that, should it resonate, the more that we create that awareness for other people. Because I too felt very alone in that. But then I realized, I was masking a lot of these highly sensitive, intuitive connections or empathy because I thought I was supposed to be a certain way based on the corporate world and society. So I think the more that we let ourselves really step into the power that is HSP and tuning into that deep connection that's created from that, the more that others are able to connect with theirs as well, is my belief.
Yeah, amazing. I'd love to dive into one of your questions now about intuition because, yeah, I think a lot of us don't dial into it. And I know anytime in the past, if I've ignored my intuition or gut, it's always been disastrous. So I listen to it now. But would you be able to explain to us really like what is intuition to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. With what we looked at for the research, intuition is defined as the ability or awareness of receiving information beyond what we often have let ourselves receive. So, the ability to know or feel a certain way or see visual information. This allows it to be really inclusive from what we found in the research is that intuition comes in a wide range of ways. I know we'll get to that in a minute, but it's really looking at our internal guidance system and our energetic connection with information all around us. And how are we really tuning in to that intuitive information, those insights, those downloads to nurture our quality of life with that. So that's how we would define it.
Amazing, amazing. You're way more articulate than I am. So why do people like connect with their intuition? Like what's the benefit of connecting with it?
Yeah. What we found from interviewing, 50 intuitives, empaths, mediums, psychics from around the world was a wide range of reasons, but the most prominent that we found over and over and over again is people shared the more that they tuned in with their intuition, their intuitive knowing, their intuitive wisdom, the easier decision making became, the more connected they felt in their relationships, the stronger they felt embodied being a parent, being a partner, the more aligned, grounded, and in tune with the flow of their life. A lot less stress was occurring. We saw fewer symptoms of anxiety and just a stronger level of empowerment, all through the intention of tuning into their intuitive abilities and their intuitive connection.
Amazing, amazing. I just think if we all tuned in, our lives would be so much easier as well. You know,
Yeah.
kind of I could totally relate to like in the past, not dialing into that intuition and just like you said, masking, conforming to like shoulds that other people had. And yeah, I think we do have that sense of knowing straight away. I know I can feel things on my gut, whether it's a yes or a no. And it could be, even I moved house recently, like house hunting going in. I'd go in and my husband, he's not he's not intuitive like me. So he's kind of takes longer to process things. And I'd walk in, I'd know instantly no. And then he would still be looking around and I'd be thinking, no. It's a definite no. And he'd like, yeah, I think just leaning into that, it just makes your life a lot easier. I know I'm doing it more in older age.
Absolutely. And what we're seeing is it's very much a journey. Another example of what is intuition, to go back to that and to tie it to your conversation about looking for houses, is have you ever met someone and there are just kind of all of these red flags that are going off? And you're saying, like, I'm sure they're a lovely human, but there's just a lot of, I probably shouldn't spend too much time around this person. We're not in an energetic alignment. So maybe you go ahead and date that person for 5 years anyway, just to like figure out how it happens, how it goes. Our intuition often turned out to be right in that
Yeah.
process. It just took us 5 years to listen to it, right? So we're constantly getting these energetic levels of information, these gut feelings, these body sensations, these, words, sounds, visuals, etc. And we'll get into that in a minute, that tell us that information that we know. And now it's our job to tune into that, should we choose, and then use that to really inform our decision making for that aligned life, should we choose, right? We're in
Yeah.
control. I believe. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all want to tune into that frequency now. I know I do. And I think the older you get, you're a bit more empowered and a bit more. I'm in the perimenopause years,
Yeah.
so you become a bit more bolshy. And yeah, I'm definitely like leaning into that intuition. But I know in the past I would have doubted it, or yeah, you kind of have that little voice or that feeling, and then you're kind of like, well, nobody else is feeling this, so I'll just go with whatever. And yeah,
Yeah.
you're making me giggle about the 5 years because I felt that about my ex-husband as well. But yeah, we still dated and I married him, and yeah.
You go ahead and just date him for 5 years anyway. I've, been
Yeah.
there as well. Lovely learnings, all of its lovely learnings. Yeah.
So it's all a journey.
Yeah. We did see in the research that self-doubt was the number one inhibitor to connecting with our intuition.
Yeah.
Self-doubt, and then a very close second, fear. Those
Oh,
two are some of the biggest roadblocks. So I just want to share that to say, it's very natural for us to have these intuitive knowings, these downloads, these visions, this information, and then quickly shift into that self-doubt. So as we're tuning in more and more, we're building that muscle. Just learn to trust yourself a little bit more, learn to know what's rooted in your body, and keep following that.
yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. And I think, yeah, I know even in business decisions as well, like you really need to lean into it because otherwise you'll end up doing stuff that you hate. And then I was having a chat earlier on with Where's one of the other speakers, and I was saying when you kind of fall out of love with something you're offering, you don't want to promote it, you don't want to show up. So it's really important that you listen because if you're a
Absolutely.
business owner, it's going to affect your business, it's going to affect your income. So it's, yeah, you really need to listen to these voices and that feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm just going to hop back onto one of your other questions here. How can intuition like nurture our leadership abilities and career goals?
Yeah, absolutely. I think really to build on what you were just talking about is when we have that ability and we give ourselves permission to tune into our inner wisdom, our intuition, our decision making becomes much more embodied. It becomes much more authentic to who we are in our expression as a person and our purpose in this world and how we're showing up with that. So, very much we saw in the research a direct connection for as people tuned in more fully to their intuition, their intuitive abilities, the significant impact it had on their business decision making, their alignment with how they were showing up in an embodied form for the work that they were doing, for the services that they were providing. And it really goes back to, tuning into that self trust. And it can be a journey, it might be a little bit easier 6 months from now as you're building up that muscle. But very much we saw that direct connection around that aligned decision making.
Yeah, like for me, it's all about being in alignment. Otherwise, it just impacts your energy and you're just drained, or you're blocking yourself and you don't know why you're blocking yourself, but it's usually because you have alignment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And with that, people, when they're passionate, when they're in alignment with what they're doing through listening to those clues, if I'm talking to this potential client, is my energy draining or am I feeling
Yeah,
that energy being filled? And many of us can probably really resonate with that. Trust yourself with that, listen to that, and really create space for what is in alignment because we saw people communicate their energy expanded because they were removing the things that weren't in alignment with them. So they
yeah,
actually became much more productive. It was powerful. It was powerful. It's one of the reasons I'm so excited to share this research. We went into it with curiosity. What is it that people are sharing with their experience, connecting with their intuition, and the research results, quite frankly, really blew us away.
oh, wow. And were there any like really surprising results that you got?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones, and these were all open-ended questions. So we use a framework called grounded theory, which is a process that's used a lot in social sciences. Brene Brown uses this in her incredible work around vulnerability and shame. And it asks people their lived experiences first, and then sees are there any patterns from these 50 interviews from all over the world, right? And so in these open-ended questions, I want to say like 98% of the people shared, like all but one voluntarily shared that they feel passionately that we all have the ability to tune in to our intuition. So that was the one that was like one of the most surprising consistencies, is that they all felt very strongly we're all connected to this energetic information should we want to tune into it more fully. The second one that was really surprising is the wide range of ways that intuitive insights came to people. So some
Oh,
people would talk about, and it to kind of bucket it, was that it comes through all of our senses and then some. So some people would talk about, in meditation, they would get visuals in a screen, almost like you're dreaming, but you're awake, and they would get visuals of a book they were about to write or visuals of what they were supposed to be doing for their next step in their career or how they were supposed to be nurturing their children, for example. We would get people would share that they would hear things and they would feel incredibly grounded in their bodies, but they would hear words or phrases or songs when that wasn't quote unquote physically in the room.
yeah.
Other people, yeah, shared that they would smell things. So a woman, for example, shared that she smelled roses when there were no roses in the room. And she knew that, and in that instant, when she smelled roses, she thought of her mom. And then in her body, she felt this overwhelming calm sensation. So for her, her mother, who had transitioned, who had passed away, connected with her through smell, right? So being really open to how that energetic or intuitive information comes to you and knowing that it comes in a wide range of ways. A gut feeling is another way, like I can't explain why. I just
Yeah.
need to turn left here. And then you run into a friend you haven't seen in years and you end up getting married, right? So really being open to the wide range of ways, and trusting into that knowing. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm quite jealous because I'm one of the ones that is just like the gut feeling, the kind of I just have the sense of knowing, but I'm quite jealous of these visions or the words or the smell. I'm like, I
Mm.
want some of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that, yeah.
Sorry, you first for a
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And with that is really honoring and celebrating how it comes to you, and really knowing that it doesn't have to be one or the other. Many people shared a range of ways. They would get goosebumps and then a gut feeling, for example. While I think we have been conditioned, if we see it, then we believe it. So there tends to be this hierarchy, like, oh, if I'm not seeing things, then I'm not intuitive, or I'm not I don't have clear abilities or clairvoyancy, etc. Give yourself permission to really trust how it comes through for you. That was one of the biggest things, and is really trusting into that. So the
Yeah,
final,
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. The final surprising insight that we saw was the direct connection between people's own personal development journey, so their self-worth journey, kind of stepping into that self-discovery, and the increase in their intuitive connection and trusting. So, to put it in an opposite way, when people were most out of sync with their intuitive connection was when they abandoned their authentic self, when
Yeah,
they acted like they had their armor up, when they tried to fit in instead of belong and be who they are. So I think that was something that's really important to note. So everybody felt everybody was intuitive. It comes in a wide range of ways. And the journey to connect more fully with that is very much synonymous with that journey of tuning in to your inner wisdom and deepening that authentic expression of how you show up in the world. Yeah.
amazing. I can totally relate to that because, yeah, I definitely had a mask on for all of my corporate career, and I
Yep.
kind of stopped doing personal development, I would say, for a long time. And then it was just when I kind of started to fall out of love with what I was doing, I
Mm.
became a personal development junkie and then kind of connected more to energy, intuition, all of that good stuff. But I
Right.
definitely put it bed for, I would say, a good 15 years of my corporate life. It's like I was a completely different person. And I look back now and go, my God, how could I even do that? I was in financial services and it was very like profit over people. I look back and think, how could I be surrounded by these people? Like, not that they're bad people, but they were not HSPs. Let's put it like that. Yeah.
And I think that's what we thought we were supposed to do, right? I showed up as this very corporate
Yeah.
drill sergeant, when I was in the corporate world. And then when I shifted to be a research professor, I showed up thinking I had to be this certain role because that's what I had seen modeled before. And when I gave myself permission to really tune in more fully to the softness, that love, that heart-driven leadership, everything shifted because when I showed up as a drill sergeant, nobody wanted to, I didn't want to teach my classes, let alone people come and be part of the classes. So the more that we're able to really kind of give ourselves compassion for wearing those masks, wearing that armor, because it helped us to survive for a certain reason. But then
Yeah.
let's start to take those off, know that it's safe to be vulnerable and really step into that. Like that's where that power was coming through. It was incredible to see that unfold in the research.
Amazing, amazing. I could speak to you all day about this research, but I'm mindful of the timings. So I'm just going to say, Bunny, like, if people want to get in touch with you, chat to you, work with you, learn from you, like, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way is going to be probably through the website. So it's intuitivebynature.com. That's where you can find information on the research as well as any like mentorships of how you're tuning in more fully to your own intuition. Forthcoming is a podcast series where we're really diving deeper into the research and the findings and really looking at what is it that people shared that supported them on their journey of tuning in more fully to their intuition.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody listening, do check out the links below as well. And I can update. So if you launch your podcast, around the time of the summit, we'll stick the links in there, or I can share it after. I think that sounds amazing as well. So yeah, everybody do check out all the links, do connect with Bunny, do check out her website. She's amazing. And I've loved talking to you today. I think it's such a great topic because it's not the topic that you kind of learn about, especially in business. You're focusing more on like output productivity, whereas I love that we're going deep into this topic. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's going to love this talk, so I'm
Mhm.
super grateful to have been interviewed by you for your research and now to hear back some of the findings. And yeah, shout out to Catwood as well for introducing us.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've
thanks,
been an
Evelyn.
absolute pleasure. Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, a lot of the speakers on the summit do know each other and are interconnected. So it's
Yeah.
quite a small world, really. And I would urge everyone listening, follow all of the speakers. Like if you find them on any social platform, connect with them because your feeds will change for the better. You will actually see content that is interesting, that is talking about topics that resonate. It's going to feel a lot more in flow as opposed to like forced hustle vibes. So definitely, connect with all the speakers like Bonnie and follow them. So any
Absolutely.
last words of wisdom for everyone, Bonnie, before we go?
Yeah, to anticipate a question that I get is how do I tune in more fully to my intuition? I want to share that with everyone watching and listening. Is it really what we found in the research is it's through trusting a series of these nudges, these knowings, these intuitive insights, and building that muscle. Specifically, what a lot of people shared is the process is they would get into where their nervous system was down regulated. So three things like meditation, art, being in nature. So that's really your foundation. Get really grounded and rooted in your body, breath work, etc. And then that allows our brain waves to be closer to our theta and our delta brain waves. And what we found in outside research as well, not our primary research, is that liminal space, similar to like kind of right before you go to sleep or right before, like right after you wake up, but you're still in that kind of in between stage. that's when we're able to tune in to the vibrational frequencies of those intuitive insights much more powerfully. So keep building up that muscle, keep building that practice. And then when those insights do come, I encourage us to get those into our 3D reality. So write them down on a sticky note. I followed my gut here, and this was the powerful result. I walked into this house and I just knew it was the right one. We bought it. The sales process was a dream, right? Writing those down helps to really reinforce that cycle of self trust and that muscle building. So have fun with it, play with it, follow what makes your heart feel alive, and enjoy it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, lovely. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And we'll see you in the next session. But that was amazing. Thanks so much,
Thank you
Bonnie.
so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.